Hey guys, it's been a little while since I made a video again. Back here working on the race car again. So far this summer, 2020, COVID, what a terrible year, eh? I've had some issues with the race car. I ordered a brand new converter for this thing. A little bit lower stall. It's stalled at 4,800 compared to the 55 I have in here now. And after talking with some guys telling me to leave my 5500 in here because he said loose is fast and loose is consistent. And I changed it and I changed it back. The new converter has 5 passes on it and it slowed me down and I wasn't happy, so I changed it all back. I also had a problem with my last, as you can see, the front is changed here quite a bit. There's no big bracket hanging off of here with the rad hose coming out of it and all that kind of stuff. My electric water pump gave up the ghost. It was a little sooner than what I would have liked it to. Only had 4 years on it. But yeah, because I talked to quite a few people and they said they run 10, 15 years on electric water pumps. Most of the guys I talked to, so I wasn't very happy about that one. So we got a new one on here. It's a little more smaller, a little compact, which is actually excellent. I like the way this one looks way better. I had to obviously drill and tap a little bit just to get my little line in there. But that's okay, because you always need them crossover tubes. And then I've been killing alternators, which has been another big thing on this thing. These things have been dying. This time I've been running a 1-wire, and this time I bought a little bit higher end brand just because I could, and I want to just get rid of everything that could be possibly killing alternators. Another one is possibly over revving the alternators. Even though this motor I shifted at 5,800, the odd time it'll hit $6,000 right at the finish line. It's not insane for revving out like that. But to make sure, I have SFI approved 25% smaller power bond harmonic balancer. So I had to change the belt. It's going to spin the alternator slower, which should save the bearings and everything in it, because these things, there's only a certain RPM alternators like to run. So this should slow it down. This is a bigger alternator too. This one will put out up to 150 amps. It's a single wire, so everything's nice and clean. Single wire means there's just the one going back here from the battery to the alternator, and that's it. There's no other plugs, nothing else to plug in. Just the one to the battery and done. So that's some of the issues I've been having. Another one is, I pulled a plug the other day and it was black. So this thing's been running rich. And this car has been running actually fairly inconsistent compared to what it normally does. So I talked to one of the other fellow racers. If you guys don't know it, if you're drag racing, talk to your fellow racers. They have a wealth of knowledge. A lot of these guys have been doing it a long time. So they're a wealth of knowledge. So one guy said that he was having the same issues. It was his bowl and metering block gaskets. They get a tiny little pinhole in there somewhere. It acts like the breathers on top here. The name is slipping my mind because it's late at night and I'm getting burnt out. So it acts like an uncontrollable air breather screw. So we're going to change those. I'm going to look them over. I know last time I was jetting trying to get this thing tuned right. The gaskets weren't looking 100%, so we're going to change those. Hopefully it wakes this car right back up. All right, I'll show you what I'm doing here and we'll get back to this. So the first set of gaskets looked a little worse for wear. There's a little tear down here, a little rough looking up at the top there. So that is definitely could be a problem, right? So hopefully that clears up all the problems I've been having. So when you're doing this, I went down to our local speed shop here, Jim's Engines, and he had some gaskets kicking around. So what you do is you just line them up, make sure you don't have any extra holes. In these ones, these are more of a universal one, so I did have, I think it's, flip this over. These 2 holes here are extra, and same with this one right here. But they go right to a flat plate on the other side, so they're not used, so they're blocked off. But make sure you have all the necessary holes, and if there is an extra hole like this one or the 2 up in the other corner there, that they're completely blocked off and they're not gonna be allowing extra fuel in anywhere. So, but yeah. So I think that's gonna be the cure to my problem, because those other ones aren't looking very great. So, and I kind of knew that I should have changed them last time I was rejetting. But there we go. I already have one side back together. It's not very hard to do. Just be careful with your torque. And when you're putting these Holley bowls back on, Holley style bowls, you just got to make sure you get your accelerator pump back the right way, because they will fall down like this. So you just got to make sure you put them back up, get that other little arm underneath so that everything's hunky-dory, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to quickly put this other side back together, peel the gaskets, clean everything up a little bit, and bolt it back together, and then we'll continue on to the next project. Alright, so the next thing we're doing is I'm going to change my header gaskets, and I got a little bit of welding to do. I'll show you that in a little bit here when I get them out. I've pulled the plugs, I pulled the wires, pulled the plugs, pulled the dipstick on this side, and pulled all the header bolts. So the header has to go down and out the bottom. So it's really nice to have a hoist to do this. I figure since I got the plugs out, I'll show you. Zoom in there a little bit. You can see those are black. So that's how rich this car has been running. So hopefully that carburetor, if we can zoom in on it. There we go. There you go. Hopefully those carburetor gaskets will fix that up for us. We'll make a few passes at the drag strip and see what they look like after that. And if they're still black, then we're going to do some rejetting, because since I've jetted, I've done a fair amount of stuff to this thing, like that carb spacer, which actually made this thing breathe a lot better, and it picked up a 1/10 actually in the quarter, which was very impressive from a stupid carb spacer, 2-inch. I did a couple other things too, and the car just seemed to like those changes and just picked up. But the reason we're changing these gaskets is it's doing this to my spark plug wires. So those gaskets are blown. When I get them all out, I will show you what I'm changing these gaskets out with, because I hate header gaskets. They always freaking leak. So I got another little special thing that I will show you that I really, really like. I've tried them, and I'll show you how they work. All right, headers are out, laying on the floor. This is what I did to them. It's little tiny bottles on the end, little race bullet kind of mufflers. So I just got to finish welding on the top. I could not get to that when I put them on the car. But this is the main reason we're doing it, to fix that. This black, hate that, gaskets leaking, pisses me off. So what we're going to do about that, by some video magic, we have them here instantly. These are called Remflex exhaust gaskets. Remflex. And you can see how thick they are. These gaskets actually compress quite a bit, about 50% when you're putting them in, which is pretty cool. Biggest thing you got to watch out with these is do not bend them. You will crack them. So I've put these in my Avalanche already, because it has headers on it as well, and it's been running around for a few years and not a leak at all. So that is excellent. I love them. They even give you a torque spec, which right there, suggested torque 20 foot-pounds. So they want you to torque these things down. Remember, always going from the center out. So you do these two, then that one, and then the other side, and then this one. So and the reason they do that is so you have even clamping force. It's always good to do it anyways. But yeah, you can see compared to these pieces of junk, the thickness difference, which is incredible. They're way thicker. They actually seal incredible. So that's what we're going to put in here. I just got to clean up the surfaces a little bit and put the headers back up in there, and then after I finish welding, and then I will be done for the day once all this is done. So we're gonna do some more video magic, clean some stuff up, weld some stuff, and by the time you see it, it'll all be bolted back together. All right, so we got the headers back in and torqued. Couple little tricks that might help you through. When I first put the headers up, what I did is I installed one of these bolts back here, and then you don't install it tight, you just a couple of threads so it'll hold the header up, and then you can line this one up, slide this first piece of gasket in through the bolt hole, install it a couple of threads, and then the gasket and the header being held, you can take this one back out, move it back here, and install through the header and the gasket again. It makes it pretty easy for balancing the header, especially if you got extra pipe like muffler welded to it, something like that. And then you can balance. These gaskets, if you noticed in the pictures before, did not have, some of them have the cutouts. I'll show you here. Some of them have these cutouts. This one you can see I did myself. It makes it a lot easier because then you just install that bolt and that bolt, pull the header out, slide the gasket in. With a little more practical or really good gaskets like these ones, I didn't want to cut those, so that's why I used the other trick. And then put everything in, snug it all down gently, and then you can go to torquing. Since these wanted a 20 foot-pound torque, I started at 10 foot-pounds, and what that allows you to do is, for one, torque everything evenly, make sure it's all seated, and then go to your higher torque. The second thing it allows you to do, as you're getting in around these tubes and everything, it allows you to see if you need to make adjustments while you're getting to all the bolts and stuff. Thankfully, this one was pretty easy. All I had to do was use a short 13 mil socket on my 3/8 drive torque wrench, and everything worked out perfect. I always go over these bolts 2 or 3 times, especially on a gasket like this that will compress quite a bit, because these bolts moved. Even on the 3rd time I went through, these bolts moved. None of the other ones did, but that's how much everything was compressing. So, and like I said, you always start in the middle and work your way out. That's why these ones kept moving, is because as you torque out here, it's still all compressing everything. So you go back to these ones and you try them again, and if they move, you do everything all over again. And the 3rd time, went and rechecked it on the 4th time, nothing moved again. So that is torqued perfectly. Did it both sides. Now all I got to do is install my spark plugs, the dipstick, and the wires, and then I am done. And then that's it for today. I won't bore you with those details, and we will talk to you guys next time I make a video. Thanks for watching.